All right, I'm going to remaster this video. This is a 2011 video, and this open corporations or distributive open corporations or decentralized open corporations was really inspired by Occupy Wall Street. And I'd already started working on the idea of a decentralized startup called a found up. And the idea these were self-forming. And what I realized is if I could replace the startup, um, there was a blue ocean there because from the idea stage to teams and having a product, no one was interested in them. So if you can capture that area and then change what they become, in this case, a distributive open corporation forming a kind of keiretsu, we could pretty much change everything. So, and the idea again is changing the world together, right? Eliminating the gatekeepers. This is the original logo for OIF, the Open Innovation Framework. OIF, it's the sound he makes. There's the chili pepper, red hot chili pepper, and this ties to the VVV engine, what I call the verification, verify that you're a human person, verify you're not a bot, verify your interaction. Um, um, uh, Validation, right? Verification, validation is what are you validating? Okay, you're creating a metric on it, and finally, valuation. What is the metric cost of that thing? And that's what that logo ultimately represents. Those three elements in there. So here am I with my two boys, right? Where's the future? Where we're at right now. Look what's going on. I mean, this is literally, tw- um, you know, uh, 11 years ago, right? This is the reality of the world that we live in. A world full of stuff, 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 consuming, consuming, consuming. Capitalism is broken. Capitalism keeps our planet thinking that it's an infinite object, right? We can keep creating mess. We can keep creating, creating, creating. The thing is science tells us our planet isn't infinite. It's like saying I can forever drink my cup of coffee. At some point, the systems are crashing, and we're witnessing those systems crashing. And the systems are crashing is because we have this endemically flawed framework we call capitalism. It's our business model that treats our systems as infinite. And our planet is not infinite. So you can't fix an endemic problem. Just like you cannot fix a hole in your sidewall, you have to replace it. And that's what all my work is about. It's about replacing this system, and the tools needed to bring about the system are threefold: Bitcoin, blockchain, and AI. Un Bitcoin unravels fiat, becoming the global reserve currency, or the Bitcoin standard. DAO, or in this case, days. Days become DAOs. DAOs replace Wall Street and their cronyism capitalism. They're transparent, they're open, and ultimately, finally, do a distributive unconscious. AI is not conscious. It never will be conscious. It's measuring data that's distributed in the network, right? So the do, in this case, a small do, is managing everything. And let's speed this up a little bit here. I don't know how fast we're going here. I'm going to speed this up, and I can pause it. The problem is not capital 1%. The problem is not capitalism 1% or governments, right? Um, the the problem is capitalism. I don't know why I said it's not capitalism. It is. It's our business model, right? Okay. Um, Playback speed is at 2. How long am I going to be looking at this document? All right. All right. It's the 19th century code of corporate model. So you're right. So what I'm saying is that it is and it's not the 19th century. It's really the 17th century. The corporation started in Italy, and startups ultimately become these corporations. So change the startup, you change everything, on that. And ultimately, it is this. Let's put it as a wolf on our back, right? System one. So here I am talking about the current model, right? So you have the hierarchical model. You have the 1%. This is the board of directors, the founder sitting at the very top. Then you've got, and then they're divided, right? They're the lesser, really they're the lesser stakeholders. Then you have the employees coming in here. Again, they're divided, right? And then finally, you have the greater, which is the consumer. So you have the creator, the collaborator, and the consumers. And what I realized was, let's turn this on its head. And this is why OIF this is bottom up. So this is your DAO, right? So here's your consumers, right, of it. You have the collaborators. So this is the consumers, the collaborators, and the creators at the very tip, okay? So it's really important. So the idea starts, right, at the very basic, right? So the founders, the collaborators. I really call them as lesser stakeholders, because the greater stakeholders, ultimately, the consumers are most important. So that is why 80% of the net profits returns back to the system, on that. So there you go, an old talk of mine, very briefly explaining the difference of the two. I have a lot of talks on YouTube. You can listen to them. A lot of my work has been geared about ushering in a new paradigm, a paradigm that will replace the current corporate paradigm that we have and usher in the change. So if I was to look at, hold on here. All right, I don't know if this will show up here. There you go. So this is again, this is the open corp right here. This is the DAO, right? So these ideas flow through a process and become these DAOs. This is a closed system. So the Bitcoin never leaves. It just gets more and more and more and more and more. Think of it as a Bitcoin standard. It's gobbling up. So all the fiat, everything's coming in here. And I didn't realize, even when I drew this diagram back then, I didn't realize the implication of the drawing. It would take me 10 years to even understand the drawing that I put in here. This image has not changed at all. AI sits at the center of this, and the open innovation framework, right, is the blockchain, right? It's the blockchain where success equals validate idea. So you could say this is the first diagram of a DApp, right, on the blockchain back in 2011. And we're now finally have the tools and everything ready to launch this. And the one thing that I was really missing, right, was how does Bitcoin in the network, in this foundation, right? The foundation of the fifth age is built on this network. How does it move to the vault? And until really this last year, or actually this year, I thought of this as kind of a vault, like one place where it moves and distributes, and it's not. These are days. There'll be thousands, millions of days, these little projects, whether farms, micro projects launching. And there is no governance. You have a business. You don't want employees deciding what to do. And that's one of the problems with the DAO. But you do want to create the Bitcoin standard, and bringing in the Bitcoin standard on the process. So the Bitcoin standard simply is the storing of Bitcoin and redistributing the Bitcoin in the form of a native token that's backed by the Bitcoin. That's the Bitcoin standard. So what Michael Saylor is doing, okay, is the same thing. He's turning all his money into Bitcoin. He can take a loan out on the Bitcoin. He can do whatever. The Bitcoin never leaves. It's just he's creating, he's basically creating a Fort Knox in Bitcoin that will always be there, that can be used by his company. He's never going to pull the Bitcoin out. He's never going to sell the Bitcoin. Guys don't get it, do you? Right? And in essence, what we're doing is, this already has been created, and here is two distributive open corps stacked on each other, the triangles, right? There's the triangle that I shared with you. There's the other one, distributive autonomous entities, and they stack. So day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, it just keeps stacking, creating a keiretsu of organizations. And this replaces the current model, and it'll replace it relatively quick, maybe within 10 years, 20 years, right? We'll be done with corporations, just as we're done with the horse-drawn wagon, on that. So, this is interest. This is kind of where we're going. This is This is what they built. This first section. There's some other modules here that need to be built. This is built on my, again, this is part of my 2011 patent document that I put together that I never filed, but the same, the same stuff. When Ethereum launched their paper and they said they're unique, I'm like, no. Here's the idea, your prospectus. I call it a prospectus. They call it a white paper. Here's your roadmap, right? Where you're going, right? Here's your team, everything else. Here's the ICOs, the different, private ICO, pre-ICO, public, so on, so on, so on. This is the fund. And you don't see it on the screen here because of the way I have it set up, but there is actually an entity here. What does it become? Does it become a DAO? And I've always been saying that the next iteration of the blockchain is a DAO, and that's what we're reaching right now on UnDaoDu. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.